to Silicon Valley Nonprofits, a service of KMVT Community Media. I'm Bev Lenahan, your host. Our guest is Jocelyn Swisher, Co-Executive Director of Peninsula Bridge. Thank you for being here today, Jocelyn. Really happy to have you.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, Peninsula Bridge, I find that name so very interesting. Tell us what Peninsula Bridge is, what you do, what your purpose is. We'd really like to hear.
Yeah. So Peninsula Bridge is a nonprofit organization, and we are providing year-round academic and social-emotional support for highly motivated, low-income students. And we do that in middle school, high school, and college.
All three?
All three,
Oh my gosh, that's quite an undertaking, really, when you think about it. So how did it come about that your program sort of developed this way? Most nonprofits cannot take that much, so tell us about that evolution.
So, well, you know, there's a real need for this kind of support for students coming from low-income communities. I think, you know, in the Bay Area, there's a real disparity in income levels.
Yes.
You know, on the one hand, it's kind of one of the most robust economies with lots of wealth, and on the other hand, we have almost an 8% level of poverty in San Mateo County and Santa Clara County, which is really hard to believe.
And that's more than just the homeless. That's
right.
Right?
No, that's right. I mean, so for instance, the students in our program, you know, generally have fairly stable family life. To be in our program, the students have to be on a free and reduced lunch program. And that means that the household income is $31,500 or less.
31,000.
So
that seems pretty high.
Yeah.
My goodness, but to make it
hard to make it in the Bay Area on that income. So, and our mission really is all about providing the support that students need to really thrive in a college preparatory high school program and then four-year colleges. So, you know, what we do know from years of data and studies is that, you know, academic outcomes are directly tied to the kind of education level of the parents and the socioeconomic situation as well. So with these students who are coming from the low-income backgrounds, you know, there's a graduation rate of 70%, and that compares to 88% for the average population.
In this area.
In this area. So what we're about is getting these kids through high school and through college.
Raising the bar.
Raising the bar.
Well, I think you haven't always been working through the college area.
No.
What did your research uncover about this?
Yeah, so it was we had a big revelation about 2 years ago when I started with my co-executive director, and for 25 years, Peninsula Bridge had been a summer program, and it's a tremendous 5-week summer program, very engaging. We can talk a little bit more about what we do.
Good.
And in that program had been 400 students from low-income backgrounds. You know, I think the focus then was in preparing students for the school year coming up, and also preventing summer learning loss, which is a real issue for this population.
Yes.
It was an assumption that these kids would then, because we're recruiting, you know, students who have a 3.0 GPA and are doing quite well in middle school, it was an assumption that they would make it through high school and get into college and kind of stay on that track.
They already had certain skills to be able to make it.
They had certain skills, a lot of talent, a lot of drive, and, you know, we sort of identify that with the schools recommending the students for our program. But when we actually did this longitudinal study, we found that really even these students, for the most part, the majority of them were not graduating high school with the college work that they needed, the credits that they needed.
What were you
So it's
finding?
a big problem.
Yeah.
Well, we found, you know, the majority were graduating from high school, but they just didn't have the UC and CSU credits. And so presumably most of them didn't go on to college. So we want to change that, flip that. And so I think The other aspect that we spent time looking at is just academically, how are they performing for the classes that they were taking. And it was clear that this achievement gap that you hear about really played out going into high school too, even with a terrific summer program. So we expanded our program, and over the past year have been very busy adding programming. And what we're trying to do is in the middle school really shore up the academics and try and close that achievement gap as much as possible. So we've added year-round after-school programs for the 6th and 7th graders in our program.
Oh, that's a big jump in itself.
It's a big jump. And then we extended our programs into high school and eventually college. So we have now 2 classes in our high school academy, we call it.
Oh, very good.
So we have, I think 42 students in our high school academy that are getting year-round mentoring support, and they participate in workshops kind of on college readiness and high school success skills.
In addition to the academic rigor.
Yeah, and then we have a pilot program for college students who had been in our program, and we're mentoring them and kind of getting ready for the pipeline of kids coming through our now 12-year program.
That's a tremendous amount of tracking to do when you haven't had that ambitious a program. Tell us about a typical student, a story that kind of tracks what you've been up to.
Yeah, our students are really remarkable. They're very talented, and it's hard to pick one. But anyway, so Angela is somebody that I want to talk about. She's a sophomore in our high school academy, and she has been in the Peninsula Bridge program since she was a rising 5th grader. So she was, a young girl, and she was picked by her middle school principal and teacher to join our program. They recommended Angela. And so now she's a sophomore. She attends a large public high school. She developed a real interest in art, stemming from her early days at Peninsula Bridge in the summertime. She kind of developed that passion then. And then recently she participated in, she got a scholarship, participated in a lacrosse clinic.
Oh, very good.
It was made possible by Bear Labs.
And sports.
And she loves lacrosse, so now she's kind of doing clinics with them. It's a really great sport, and she wants to play with her high school team. But so you look at Angela's family. She's got a mother and a father, and she's got 2 siblings. It's very supportive.
Working, both parents working?
Working very hard. So again, they're earning less than $30,000 a year. And they're very supportive of Angela. They really want Angela to go to college and graduate from college. And I think they recognize that that really is the path forward to get her out of this, situation.
That's a big step to get the parents to just recognize that.
I
Often
think it is.
That takes a lot of education too.
Yeah, it does. And we partner closely with the parents. We have workshops with the parents on financial literacy and some other, teenage brain was another one that many came to. They're trying, everybody trying to figure out their teenagers.
Sure, isn't that the truth?
And I was telling, Angela's dad said to us just a couple weeks ago that he feels that, there are 2 tracks Angela could take. There's the Peninsula Bridge track, and then there's the other track. And it's been hard for her. They're in a community that has a lot of threats. There's a lot of drugs, there's a lot of violence, a lot of gang activity. And I think it's been, at times, hard for Angela to kind of decide which side she wants to be on.
At that fork in the road,
There's
and she's got to take one of them.
And sometimes, these kids can be conflicted about that.
And sometimes the parents are even conflicted about it because of their whole social upbringing.
That's right. That's right. So I think a big part of our program is creating a cohort of like-minded kids who are academically oriented, thinking about college, with families kind of, supporting them in that. And when they come to us, it's a safe place. They really kind of learn to develop a voice, and they develop self-confidence, and they learn how to advocate for themselves.
Yes.
And they have each other to kind of support each other doing that. Yeah.
So what are some of the challenges you're finding in this expanded vision that you have?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there are, and there would have to be, especially in year 1.
Yeah. So I think you know, for every nonprofit, fundraising is #1 challenge, right?
Yes, always.
Expand those great programs, you need funding.
Resources.
Resources. And partnerships, and we can kind of talk about that more. But, you know, honestly, I think the biggest challenge for us is the challenges that our students face, and you know, thus the need to expand the programs and support them.
Yes, and keeping a listening ear to all of that, because
right.
it evolves, doesn't it? And what might be one of their bigger challenges today could be something different tomorrow.
That's right.
And to stay on top of that really takes committed staff, like I know you have.
Yeah. No, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that transition to high school, for instance, can be, you know, a student could be doing just fine in 8th grade and feeling all confident, and then they come into this bigger environment in high school, and it can throw kids for a loop, for sure.
And even more so then when they make that move from high school to college.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Yes. So I imagine research is a greater part of what you're doing, and of course that just doesn't come free, does it?
Yeah.
The research and the tracking and staying
Yeah.
on top of the trends and all of that to make sure that your programs really do follow. So just briefly name a couple of the programs that you're specifically doing in that, in the different programming.
Sure. So we've set ourselves up now so that we have the middle school academy, high school academy, and then college mentoring. And in the middle school academy, we've got still this terrific 5-week summer program. The kids come to that from their rising 5th grade year through their 8th grade year. So for 4 summers they come. And that program is very academic. It's very rigorous academically. We have teachers who are experienced that work with kids on English, and they have math, and they have science. We've layered in some computer science and robotics.
Some STEAM stuff.
Yeah,
huh?
some STEAM stuff is integrated in now too. So it's a really rich experience. And then there's a lot of enrichment activities. Kids get to do things that they just have never tried before, like photography or dance or you know, learning an instrument, something like that.
We know that rounds out their intellectual capability
that's right.
too.
That's right.
And you stimulate that part of the brain.
That's right.
Very good.
I think it's, yeah, they love it, and I think they discover new talents they didn't know they had.
It's true.
And then we have our after-school program that I mentioned for the 6th and 7th graders.
Yes.
That's going during the school year. We have also during the school year for 8th graders a program that's getting them ready for high school and working on you know, social emotional development and study skills, time management, that kind of thing. Then in our high school academy, we have now 2 people on staff who are working as advisors
My goodness, that's
to
wonderful.
our students. And
that's a big step.
it's making a big difference, I think, because they're getting very close to the students, very close to the parents, and then working with the schools that the students are in, and kind of working as a team and supporting the students with whatever comes up.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's very ambitious, but it sounds like it's working, and it's based on some of the research that's come out in these recent years. Briefly, talk about how important partnerships are to your success.
Sure. You know, they're key to our success, and we couldn't be successful without a number of different kinds of partnerships. So first of all, the public schools. We work with 35, roughly, different middle schools, public middle schools.
35 middle schools, my goodness.
And then a couple independent middle schools, and they are identifying these talented students and referring them to our program. We work with 6 independent schools, particularly in the summertime. So we have Castellea, we have Menlo School, Sacred Heart Schools, Woodside Priory, St. Matt's in the north, and then
Public and private.
Crystal Springs. So these private schools, we have the heads of the schools on our board, actually.
Very good.
They're very involved.
Mm-hmm.
And we run the summer program on their campuses, which is really life-changing for these kids to kind of show up in these places.
So as we finish up today, tell folks how they can help.
Yes, we always need help. I think, you know, one, of course, back to the donations, we need funding always. We are more and more getting people involved as mentors with our students, particularly with high school and college students. And the corporate partnerships is another thing that we love to develop. You know, the ideal partnership is something like we've done with Google, where we have some employees volunteering to help us. They invest in us, and then we also bring students there for career exposure visits so they can learn about engineering, for instance.
Sounds like a win-win. Well,
yeah.
we thank you so much for being with us today, Jocelyn, and good fortune to you and Peninsula Bridge.
Thank you for having me, Bev.
You're welcome.